Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we have a treat for you today on Boot Wizard. Not only are we going to look at the Puma Future 2.1, which has actually become one of my most requested videos. Of course, I do takedown reviews. I've never really done Puma takedown reviews, and these are getting a lot of attention because of how popular the 1.1 is. So I thought, why not go to a man that as soon as somebody says Puma Ultra 1.1, that's where my head goes. Somebody says it, I'm like, Tim, that's Tim's boot. You know when you directly associate a boot with somebody so heavily? I think people do that with me and the new Nemesis. But without any further ado, Tim, who is here from the Top Bins Talk podcast, which you should definitely check out, by the way. Tim, welcome to Boot Wizard. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. So, Tim Kamrash from Top Bins Talk at Top Bins Talk on Instagram, and also representing the official Boot Society, which is, of course, a cult that anybody should join should they're given the chance.
Not a cult, Tim. It's not a cult.
It's not a cult. We just have a logo and some phrasing, and we're all very charismatic. So, definitely not a cult. But thanks for the introduction, James. Happy to be here.
Any time. So yes, please do go over and follow the Top Bins Talk podcast, both on Twitter and on Instagram. We'll drop the handles down below, and drop us a follow at the official Boot Society, which is not a cult, but Tim and I are both members. Of course, you can follow Boot Wizard here by hitting the subscribe button, and head to Boot Wizard Boot Reviews on Instagram as well. There's all kinds of other fun social media stuff. Just press lots of buttons. Something fun will happen. So what we're here to talk about is the Puma Ultra 2.1. Now, the reason that we are here to talk about the 2.1 is because, as I say, Tim's a huge fan of the 1.1. In fact, before we do that, Tim, why do you love the 1.1 so much? What is it?
What possesses you to think I like the 1.1? What possesses you to believe that? I don't understand why you think that I love this boot. All right. So the reason, in all actuality, that I really enjoy this boot is because I actually really prioritize comfort and don't want to sacrifice performance for it. And the Ultra really does deliver on both. And that really is a driving force. The knit is very comfortable. The upper is very malleable. It takes really minimal break-in time, and it's a unique boot in my opinion. So, long story short of it, it's comfort, it's performance, and it's cool looking. Why wouldn't I want this? Look at this guy.
It is cool looking. Now, a thing that I constantly complain about, as does Tom, again, from the official Boot Society, is that we talk about the looks. That is a very high volume boot. There is a lot of room in this boot, and it's almost my only criticism of the boot here. So, but you're a man with a wide foot, so these are like perfect for you.
We've talked about this too, where people sometimes say, "Oh, I have a wide foot," and it's hard to find comfortable boots when you have a foot that's wide, but there's a lot of different definitions to wide, and we could probably talk for a half hour about that. But, we have a couple of friends in our chats that, we don't send a lot of feet pictures in the chat. It's not weird or anything, but you do have.
I've seen more feet in that chat than I ever wanted to see in my life.
So in all actuality, though, a lot of people have different foot profiles, and Puma really grasped an opportunity with the 1.1 in the fact that a lot of people can't fit into the Vapor, which is a really nice, comfortable boot. But at the same time, there's not a lot of volume inside those boots typically. The 13 was probably a little bit of an exception, but they really cornered a market of people with high volume feet that wanted something stylish and something that, would stand out on the pitch. So for younger players who say, okay, I have a really wide foot, you might actually just have a lot of volume in your foot, and you have a hard time cramming it into a cleat or a boot, whatever your discretion is. But, when it comes down to it, Puma really cornered a market and said, okay, well, we'll make this comfortable for everybody and not sacrifice the performance.
Yeah, I think you've nailed it. I think that it is a market that needed to be cornered, and I think even Nike tried to jump on it themselves with the GT a little bit, but Puma have definitely kind of achieved it better than Nike have, and it's not something you've been able to say over time. But I do want to pick up on something you just said about the upper there. So we'll move into talking about the upper of the 1.1 versus the upper on the 2.1. So you said obviously it's thin, soft, malleable, really kind of breaks in very, very quickly. And it's this fantastic material. So this is the Matryxevo upper, which is a woven upper with aramid and Kevlar fibers, basically carbon fiber built through it to give you all of the lockdown responsiveness. It's really, really clever tech. And when you look at the Ultra 2.1, this boot, if you were to look up the, shall we say, the tech specs of it, Puma really do push it as having a lot of the same tech as the 1.1, the Kevlar and aramid fibers, the woven upper, things like that. And I think you and I had a similar thought when these came out, that it's going to be very similar to the 1.1, but definitively gives you a two-piece upper, that standard tongue construction, which for a lot of people is huge. So let's go. What were your initial thoughts? I'm going to stop you getting too wound up to start with. What were your initial thoughts when you did see the 2.1? Excited?
So yes, excited. So for anybody that knows me, I do like doing little boot conversion projects where, you know, I turn one-piece upper boots into two-piece upper boots, make them more comfortable, more personalized feel, if you will, on them. And unfortunately, you know, I really got my hopes up with the takedown model here, because it did look, they did a fantastic job on the photos, you know, disguising it as if it was a 1.1 with a two-piece upper. And that was my initial thoughts on it. Was I said, wow, look at, you know, online, look at these photos. You know, the stock photos were great. The photos on feet look good too. And, you know, we have a lot to discuss from what happened next.
Yeah. So you've probably picked up by now that this was not a case of a 1.1 with a two-piece upper. And Tim and I both were fairly disappointed by this. Tim being the man who has the unrequited love for the Puma Ultra 1.1, maybe a little more disappointed than me. What was it about them? Like go down for it. Like, worst thing first, what were the worst things about getting this upper, aside from just pure disappointment?
I mean, what wasn't it? Where did the disappointment stop is the real question. The upper did not feel like a knitted upper, very stiff, plasticky out of the box. The lacing system in the front, while pretty deep, also left a lot to be desired, considering the tongue was not very malleable out of the box. It also felt very cheap out of the box. And one of my biggest gripes, which is, again, the comfort, had to come down to the fact that on the heel, there was a lot of digging in on the heel, reminiscent of what the original, you know, on the Nemesis 17.1, the issue that I had with that boot, which was that there's not a lot of comfort, not a lot of padding in that heel where it needs to be, right? You know, if you throw padding where it doesn't need to be, it's not really helping anybody. But on the top of the boot, it really did feel like they didn't consider the comfort, and they didn't want to sacrifice weight at that point. And again, just where did the disappointment stop when it came to describing the upper? I can't go into at this point.
I think that's fair enough. And so Tim had these boots before me. I've only had these for about a week. I've been out in them a couple of times, and I do have to agree on the whole with pretty much everything Tim's saying. And it is disappointment, because my hopes are up, and I'm like, this could be awesome, because, you know, I'm not a man who dislikes a one-piece upper. I quite like them. But sometimes a two-piece, it just makes life easier, and I quite like it. So to get that would have been cool. But then I got them out of the box, and even the bit that's supposed to be the Matryxevo upper. So if you look at the back section, it's uncoated. It doesn't have the Grip Control Pro element on it. That back section, it just doesn't feel the same. It's much thicker. It's much stiffer. It doesn't break in, and it doesn't have that kind of texture that you associate with the 1.1 either. So yeah, that was disappointing. But the thing for me was that I feel like the boot could have been a lot better had Puma not gone crazy with this Grip Control Pro element. Now, the Grip Control Pro on the 1.1 quite inversely, doesn't do a whole lot. It's just a little bit of tacky coating on the toe. So if you want to get some extra bend and spin on your toe pokes, maybe that's what it's for. But the 2.1, they have gone big. It covers the front kind of 2/3 of the boot, and seems to me, at least, it's quite grippy. It doesn't fit. You would imagine it does a decent job compared to not having it there. I quite like it, but it's just so thick, right?
It really is. And, the issue that I have with it as well is really that if you're going to make a football boot, regardless of the tier, the fit needs to be consistent throughout all tiers, because then you have an issue where you have players who just don't know if they can trust your sizing as a brand. And Puma really missed the mark on that one. Super comfortable on an 8.5 US for me on the 1.1, and then on the 2.1, I guess. Yeah. Puma's naming system also needs to be changed. Guys, what are you doing?
Honestly. Oh, wow. Like, a 2.1 is a new boot. Like, it's not a 1.2. It should be a 2.1. Like, I realize it's convention that kind of Adidas mainly have fed to us, as that's how things should be named. But it also makes sense.
It does. Before you know it, they're going to release a Pi boot, and it's going to be like the 3.14 repeating, and then it's just going to be like chaotic, and you're just not going to be able to get it.
But I really want that.
Puma reps, if you're watching, James would at least buy the boot. You would have a wizard in your midst. What else can you ask for? But the sizing is just not consistent throughout the boots. It's really, a shame, because it was a really nice opportunity for them. The 2-piece boot market for a speed boot is really kind of a niche market where they could really have taken advantage of it. And as opposed to doing that, they kind of pushed out this plasticky, over-gripped, something you would give maybe a youth player that wasn't playing too seriously type boot.
Yeah, it's true. I agree with you. And like, I'll hold up to the other camera. You can possibly see it. So there's a frontal area on my boot here where the Grip Control Pro coating has started to kind of peel off, because they've had to put like scores in the boot, in the Grip Control Pro, to give it enough flexibility. Like, if you have to do that, it's a pretty damn stiff material. But then mine's kind of peeling off a little bit like wax. So like it's like a waxy kind of, if you were to get dry wax and like run your fingers down it, my Grip Control Pro element's kind of doing that. That's how thick this element is. And as you say, to the fit, that means, for me at least, that front kind of third half of the boot was really tight and unforgiving. It was just super. If it looks like my door keeps opening randomly, it's my cat. So yeah, it was really. Oh, there he is, Hamilton, dude. We're a little busy. Like, you can say hi to Tim. Say hi to Tim.
He runs the show. Hamilton runs the show.
Hamilton does run the show.
Fun fact for anybody who's watching, little boot wizard trivia for you. Originally, that was not James's cat, and then it ended up being James's cat because he is a kind soul. So he decided to take that cat in. So
that's pretty much how that happened. Yeah, it's a long story. You can DM me or drop us something down in the comments. I'll explain it to you. It's a long and caring story about cats. I'm sure he'll be back in a second. Anyway, away from Boot Wizard boot cats, the front 2/3 of this boot for me was just super unforgiving because it was so tight. Right. And then, as you say, you're taking away from that high volume or that element that's going to be able to appeal to the people who wanted the 1.1. And like, can you think of any other boots on the market that offer a high quality speed boot with a 2-piece upper?
Not at the moment. Maybe the Lotto Solista. Maybe. That's not even 2-piece anymore. No,
Solista's 1-piece.
That's not even 2-piece anymore. Oh my gosh.
Like,
I can't really think.
Everything's a 1-piece upper. This was a hole in the market, like you say, and they have missed it horribly.
Yeah. Maybe they could do something like a 1.5. No, I'm just kidding.
But I'm going to bring this up because you mentioned earlier that you do like to mod things, which is one of my favorite things to see in our chats. You have a modded leather pair of the Ultra, right?
I do.
Do you have them with you? Can we see them?
I do have them with me, and you can see them.
This is special.
So the Leather Ultra, and I'm just going to block my face because these are the real star of the show here. And I don't have two fancy cameras, but
sorry.
You look at the Leather Ultra, nice boot. Also, just actually slightly slimmer in a profile, I felt. And again, just a kind of sizing inconsistency. So what I did was I went ahead and I chopped off the neck collar. And if we're going to compare the two, so I chopped off the neck collar and went ahead and just, I don't know, what's the technical term for burning synthetic material?
I think it's called burning synthetic material.
Is that it? It's not a solder, no, but so what I did was I went ahead and I burned the synthetic, and then I went ahead and stitched in a tongue from, actually, I will give you 3 guesses with no prior knowledge whatsoever where this tongue came from, and I will go ahead and pull it a little closer to the camera. Where does that tongue look familiar from?
Well, knowing you, I'm assuming it came off a Nike Premier.
Close. It is a Nike boot. I will give you that.
Is it off the Tiempo?
It is not off a Tiempo. You got one more guess.
What on earth have you taken a gold tongue off?
Think a gold Nike colorway.
Pulling a blank. Gold. When was the last time Nike did a gold boot? I'm stuck on Premier and Tiempo at this point, but one of them's the Totti boot, and that you definitely didn't take that apart.
I was definitely not messing with the Totti boot. Yeah. We got the Totti jersey behind me. We were not messing with that.
What's it off?
It is off. Hamilton wants to. You phoned the friend? Is that what?
Yeah. Hamilton, what is that off? What is that boot off?
Can you hear his voice? He's saying off of the takedown model of a Hypervenom 1 boot.
Takedown Hypervenom 1. Okay, I was never going to guess
for the silver and gold Neymar colorway.
I do know which one you mean. Yeah, I assumed again though, if you had a Hypervenom 1, that it, like, I was thinking the top tier.
Oh,
there was not a hope you were going to take the tongue off that, you know?
Not that it would have lasted long if I did. I mean, there was some serious durability issues on that boot.
maybe I should have assumed that you had a pair, they got destroyed, and then you just repurposed the tongue. That would have been more likely, right?
Yeah, extremely so.
Oh, I tell you what, we will move on to other areas of the boot because I feel like we have bashed the upper of this boot quite enough. Never enough. So in short, it's stiff, it's plasticky, it's nothing like the 1.1, and it is a disappointment that does not fit very well. But there are positives here, I think. Always trying to be the wizarding optimist. The Soleplate. I think the Soleplate on this is pretty good because it feels very similar to the Soleplate on the 1.1. Like, you could argue that it would be very difficult to tell the difference. It's maybe a little less snappy with the 2.1. Hold on, I just want to show everybody what just happened there. So I was just bending this to kind of show the spring back on the boot in the other camera, and what it's done is it's done like that to the boot. It's immediately just bent and creased the boot just in there. That's how terrible that is. Anyway, stop bashing the upper. The outsole, very similar to that on the 1.1, which I think is nothing but a good thing, because I think the 1.1 outsole, it's not as responsive or snappy as a Ghosted or a Mercurial, but you certainly get great traction, and it's still a very, very good outsole. Now, as a man, as I know that wears a lot of kind of, you like the Premier, you like some leather boots, are you a fan of the more aggressive outsole on this?
So I am a fan of the more aggressive outsole, and I really would agree with you that the Vapor outsole is definitely more aggressive on the FG model. The Ghosted as well, agreed. As far as, if we're looking big three competition of what this boot is looking at, absolutely. But again, I feel like Puma really went a different route with this one, because the FG AG, quote unquote, which we all kind of
lies. That was going to be my next question.
Yeah. So maybe on a really good artificial surface, you can get away with these. But the point that I'm making is that it really does feel like Puma went for a stylish, comfortable boot with this boot. as opposed to trying to compete in aggressiveness with the with the other big three, with the other Nike and Adidas, specifically because they know they're not going. And I don't work for Puma, so we can't say we know, but you would assume, I guess I would say, that they know they're not going to beat Nike or Adidas out for marketing in regards to aggressiveness, right? So really what they went was what they were good at. They went with, we're going to make a really light boot and we're going to make it comfortable. And, I wouldn't lie to you. I think in regards to comfort, I would prefer the traction and the performance of the Ultra 1.1 over the X99.1, which was a great boot as well. I know it's a little bit of a difference, but they still fall in the same speed boot category.
Absolutely.
So fair game.
No, I think you've nailed it. And interestingly, actually, I've just started kind of finalizing all my thoughts on the brand new New Balance, the Furon V6 Plus. And one of the things that really strikes me, I'm definitely going to say this in my review, which you will be able to pick up by the time that this is up. So do please click up in the corner. Boom. Shameless plug. It's my channel. I'll plug what I like. Is that they now have very much cornered a market of soft knitted kind of sock boots because Nike and Adidas have moved away. So it's for me at least. Now I'm sure they've maybe planned this prior to Nike and Adidas going full synthetic, but for me, it just makes a lot of sense. Rather than trying to go and make a synthetic boot and compete with them, they have this really great soft knitted boot now, which is going to appeal to a certain demographic of people, and they should really hold on to that. They should corner that market, and the same applies to the Ultra. They really need to corner that market, and they really need to kind of keep on with that comfortable, high performance, lightweight boot because it appeals to a certain type of people. Not every boot needs to be the same. They don't have to follow the same trends, and not everybody needs a Carbotex insert in their sole plates.
Unless you're Jason. Jason wants them.
To be fair, I got Jason to send me. Where are they? Yeah, they're here. This is going to give me two fun points. One is that it was in front of my, just behind my little since 1927 badge, which matches your lovely T-shirt. And you and I, this is a shameless plug that we're not being paid for.
We're not ashamed of.
Or asked to do, but we're absolutely not ashamed of. Tim is a huge Roma fan. Roma is my Italian club. And we both have, since 1927, T-shirts on today, which is nice. So, Joe, that one's for you. Anyway, I got Jay to send me over these. So these are little carbon inserts, which I'm going to slide into a pair of boots to test out. So there'll be a video on that as well, because I do also like a snappy outsole. But we're talking a lot about the 1.1, how great it is. We do need to get back to the 2.1 here because I realize we're avoiding it because it's fairly terrible. So what we're going to do is we're going to give it another win. I've tried to give it a win with the outsole, and all we did was talk about how great the 1.1 was. So I'm going to try and give it a weight win. We're going to live weigh these. I have my scales here, which I also use for bartending, so they're frequently very sticky. And we are going to throw on the 1.1 first. Now, I have small feet, so these are in a US size 8. Although they have paper in them, that's going to skew the weight, isn't it? So we're going to pop these on, and 159 grams in a US 8, which is aside from the SL, but that's a limited edition. They're the lightest mass production football boot that you can get. So throwing on the 2.1, and we're going to, nothing in that one.
All right.
Now, you would assume that due to the mass amount of plastic they seem to have stuck on the top of this boot, it would actually weigh a lot. It doesn't. It's 184 grams, which is lighter than an X-Ghosted Plus, an X-Ghosted 0.1, a Vapor 14 Elite, a Superfly 8 Elite. It's only slightly heavier than the Furon V6 Pro. So I would say that if you are looking for a super lightweight boot, it still covers like that area, but question for you. I think I know the answer. Is it worth it? Like, if you're looking for something super lightweight, is it worth the trade-off to get something like the Takedown Ultra at a lighter weight and a lower price, but get that kind of less desirable upper? Is that a trade-off that you would advise the Boot Wizard viewers taking?
All right. So the immediate answer, the short answer, has to be no for me.
I figured as much.
So yeah, it's almost like you're a wizard and a psychic. So all in there. So if we consider the weight, right? So the problem, and this is kind of down to marketing, and my advice, I do a lot of coaching. My advice to younger players would be, a lot of young players prioritize weight or flashiness of a boot, obviously, because you want to stand out on the pitch and you want to give yourself any advantage. Prioritizing weight over comfort or touch on the ball is not going to make you a better player. It's just, it has to be said. It's a marketing scheme for you to say, wow, if that is light, I will be light. And if I am light, I am fast. And realistically, if I wore a pair of the point, of these takedowns, and, I raced at Cristiano Ronaldo, I wouldn't do any better in my final result against him if I was wearing a light boot. So, and the other piece of it as well is, you need to realize that as a footballer, as a player, you're going to be running. And if you're not running for the whole 90 minutes, your coach should give you a kick up the backside. But if you are running and doing what you're supposed to for 90 minutes, comfort is 100% going to outweigh, not to be ironic, weight here. So, for my opinion, you'd be better off as far as, value for money goes, and looking at a lightweight option. A lot of people are giving leather boots a bad rep, and I don't mean from an ethics perspective, but I have with me a pair of, and these look pretty sleek, I have a pair of King Pros, okay? And now you can get the King Pros on average. They're probably around 100, 110 retail. I can't remember off the top of my head, but you can definitely pick up a pair of these for probably close to $40 or $50. So definitely maybe half off, a little more so. And if you are a young player, even if you're an adult rec player and you want a boot, I would definitely stand by these, strictly because the touch is great on them. They're an inexpensive boot, and they are crazy durable for a modern boot. I mean, you want to talk about, prioritizing. You don't want to be buying boots every other month. And this is definitely a high performing, under the radar boot in this nice little blackout colorway. So that's really my, James, that would be my take on the situation.
There you go. That is a top tip of both don't buy boots because of their weight, which I have to agree with. There are so many other things you need to prioritize. Of course, we always weigh the boots on Boot Wizard to give you that rough idea of where they come in. It is a marketing thing mainly. I have a video coming that will cover this slightly soon. Basically, are these going to make me run any faster? The answer is going to be no. Even before I test it, I look like I'm running through treacle at all times. And the King Pro is a top tip from the man himself, from Tim. The King Pro is the first takedown of the King Platinum. Is that right?
That would be correct. Yep.
Yeah, perfect. So what I will do is, if I'll find them, I'll put some links down in the top comment and also in the description. If you want to pick up the King Pro, the Puma 1.1, the Ultra 1.1, or if for some unknown reason you really want a 1.2 after we've just slammed it for the last 20 minutes, I'll also put some links in for the Ultra 1.3. Sorry, that's a 1.1. Where's the 1.3? Here it is. For the 3.1. God, naming system. The 3.1. I've got it all horribly wrong.
3.1 for repeating.
Anyway, yeah, the 3.1, which honestly, it feels very similar to the 2.1. It's cheaper. I'm not that impressed by this either. We'll have a review on the channel soon. So I'll stick all those links down below. The King Pro is definitely an option, something that Tim highly recommends. And in and around the price range of the 2.1, you're looking at things like the Vapor 14 Pro, or the X Ghosted 0.2, and both of those boots I would recommend over the Puma. And a big one for me is the New Balance V6, Furon V6, the Destroy, which is their top end takedown. That basically has, I'm not sure about the plus level one yet, I haven't seen it, but in the V6 Pro, it has exactly the same upper as the top end boot, but with the sole plate off the old V5 Pro, which means you get a really high performance football boot for a takedown price. That's probably fairly high on my list of takedown boots to pick up. Unfortunately, despite our high hopes, this does not go onto our list of things to pick up.
Unfortunately not, man.
We were hoping, right?
High hopes. I hoped there was going to be a little something like this, you know, a little 1.5 Evo speed.
Yeah.
Homage, almost. You know, I'd take any opportunity to show off a Trix pack, really.
That's right. Okay, we're going off topic here, but I don't even care. Trix packs. Why do Puma not do more Trix packs? We need more Trix packs, right?
Oh man, absolutely. You know, maybe they, you can actually, according to Todd Cantwell from Norwich, this is a Trix pack. So apparently he does have a tendency to wear the two different colorways, which I will give him all credit for as far as style points go. But yeah, that's a great question. That was such a staple of their marketing for such a long time, of these really innovative colorways. And maybe they just found some of them were ending up on clearance, some of the other ones.
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's just people like us that, like, I do sometimes think that, people like you, me, people who are kind of like really into football boots to a degree that is potentially unhealthy. We like really want things, and we're like, sorry, joking to death. I'm that excited. We really want things. We want things like a Trix pack. We want it. But then Puma goes and does some market research and is like, yeah, there's like 10 people who want this, and it's and it's you guys. Like, what are you doing? I really like these. Like, and I think I'm maybe the only person. This is the Evo Speed Fresh. My own personal, I get this out at any opportunity to show it off. But I'm sure there's a reason they don't make these anymore, and it's not just that they fall apart. Griezmann loves them. Like, Grizzy breaks these out in training very regularly. So, like, that stands for something, maybe, sort of.
I want to give Puma a little bit of credit on that one, because the whole mesh, because that was what that was, right? That was like a mesh style upper.
Oddly, it is different, but it feels a little similar to the SL. If you put them side by side, you have them in hand. I think it's just because they're both so thin and so flexible. They do feel a little similar. It's just as if the SL has been completely coated on the top, and then the Fresh hasn't. It's just got like those lines to give it structure, and you can actually see the mesh. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go on. No worries. So yeah, and I want to give a little bit of credit to Puma on that one, because some really popular boots, when you look at, the X18.1, that was a really popular boot for a lot of people. It got Gareth Bale to actually wear a boot and not just the colorway with his traditional wearing the X15 camouflaged. But, and without getting too detached from what we're doing here, give Puma credit. They really do try to be innovative with certain tech, and sometimes it really works out for them, and sometimes they're ahead of the curve, because that mesh upper didn't really land with a lot of people. That was on clearance for a good while. Whereas, you look at, the Adidas X18.1, and that was a really popular boot. So, sometimes it's really just right tech at the wrong time for them. Yeah, absolutely. And I think Puma, the thing I always liked about Puma is they never seem to be afraid of taking a risk. I dislike the fact that they seem to want to release a boot every 3 months. But at least they like taking, like, how do we, or you have the 1.1 and the 1.2, right? You have both?
I do. Yeah. So
like the difference is they look different. Like, there's no actual difference to the boots. How is that a new model?
Well, hold on a sec, because on this model, you have the grip running, and I don't have a nice camera like James does, but, when we look at this, the grip lining kind of stops right around here. And this is kind of left relatively blank, as opposed to on the 0.2 that you can see.
Oh, wow.
You can see that it's definitely worth changing the name of, because they decided to move it all the way back here. But if I ever decide to trap a ball with my heel, the great news is that if I get the 1.2, I am a shoo-in to nail that touch. So
There you have it, everybody. Go and spend more money on the 1.2 because of your extra grip control pro and a little bit of design that goes further back the boot. Why would you not? What we do need to do real quickly, we have touched on it mostly, is we'll shuffle this along so that people aren't sat looking at our ugly faces for the next 2 hours of their life. Is I do just want to touch specifically on the fit and comfort of the 2.1, the boot we're actually here to talk about. So we've touched on most of it. Is that for me, so this heel area, just the opening as well, is just far too stiff. Like, it was uncomfortable to get that boot on and the feeling. And you didn't like I would agree as well, the padding in the heel. You think that's rough. That doesn't feel great. Yeah, so that's not great. And then in terms of, we've already mentioned the tight fit in the forefoot, not being... It seems to have a decent amount of width in the midfoot, but overall, it's probably not a boot you'd recommend for people with wide feet. Would you say that?
Yeah, it's just not with the stiffness.
It's not forgiving enough, right?
Yeah. People need to also see that it's not even necessarily the fact that, just because it's a two-piece upper doesn't mean it's going to fit you, right? And that's a good point that you were making as well. If the upper is really stiff, it's not going to mold to your foot. And that's really what you're looking for. If you're somebody with wide feet, is you're looking to mold into, whatever your foot shape is really at that point.
Yeah. And then in terms of sizing, you've already said that obviously the sizing is definitely off compared to the 1.1. You probably would struggle to work out, like, to find the similarity. I do have these boots in the same size in both. There is definitely a difference. I don't mind my boots being that bit tighter, so I haven't gone up a size and half size, and I probably wouldn't, but I could definitely see why people would want to go up half a size in this. Was that your takeaway as well, up half a size?
Yeah, absolutely. Up a half size, and definitely based on fit, like you were saying.
Nice. And then the internal liner is fine. There's not really a lot wrong with it, but I don't know. I'm trying to find nice things to say. Like,
It's hard.
I don't like to unilaterally bash a boot and just be like, this is terrible. But unfortunately, two things have happened. One, the upper on the boot is not very good, and that's the biggest thing. And two, I've got you on here discussing this boot with me, and I know how much you hate it. And I'm gradually turning to the dark side here. This is like I'm feeding off your hate. Like, you're there, you're the emperor, and you're like, let the hate run through you. And I'm just bashing a boot, which is something I very rarely do. Something I very rarely do on Boot Wizard. Do you have any final thoughts on the Puma Ultra 1.2, 2.1? God damn it. Apart from the naming system is stupid, what is your final message, your final thoughts to the wonderful Boot Wizard people at home before we sign off on this one?
So my message to anybody who's considering getting a pair, your money would be well spent either getting a previous model or waiting for the 1.1 or the 1.2 to go on clearance, because that's definitely been happening recently, considering they come out with a colorway every other month. But as far as speaking of the consumer, you could probably get a better quality boot for the amount that you're going to pay if you're going to look at paying retail for them or a slight discount. If you're looking at my opinion for Puma, you guys were super close. It's really just the upper. James and I really were, if you fix the upper for the takedown, you're cornering a two-piece speed boot market that nobody else is really looking at. Everybody is interested in those horrible, Adidas 0.3, speed takedowns that have, awful mesh material. Be better. You can do it. You have the technology to make a good 2-part speed boot and go for it. That's my take to both.
I think that's one of the reasons we're upset with this so much is because we were so hopeful about it. Like, it's like expectations, and then you get brought down to reality really, really hard. And I feel like Puma knew what they were doing. They knew that a two-piece was a good idea, because look at the 3.1. It's a one-piece upper with a line. They knew that this was a corner of the market, and then they just messed it up. But enough bashing of a boot. I can't take it anymore. I need to go to my happy place. So what we will do is we will sign off here from me, James, over at Boot Wizard Boot Reviews. Hit the subscribe button. Remember to hit the like button as well. You can follow me over on Instagram at Boot Wizard Boot Reviews. Of course, leave your opinions down in the comments, along with whatever else you would like to see on the channel. What would you like to see me and Tim review something else? What boot do you want to see us bash next? And if you can support us, please head to patreon.com/Boot Wizard, where you can help lead the channel and support us as a patron. Tim, please inform me of your social media information and where can the lovely people find lovely Coach Tim?
Okay, so you can find me in a couple places. Of course, we always represent Top in Stock whenever I am anywhere. Top in Stock is a podcast. It's actually at Top in Stock on Instagram. Fantastic. Everything football is being covered there. You can catch me on at the official Boot Society on Instagram. And you can also catch me at Coach Kuji on Instagram for any footballing tips, anything you need advice with. Always happy to help. And that's everything for me. Thank you so much for having me on. And I feel better having been interacting with a wizard for the past hour. I mean, this is fantastic.
a little catharsis, if nothing else. That is all from us here today. This video was supposed to go 10 minutes. I think we're about 40 minutes in. We will see you very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.